This conference will now be recorded.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone. Welcome to the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors meeting. It is Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. We have an agenda in front of us. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Cam made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Jim second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay. Motion passes. Approve the minutes of the January 21st meeting and claims.
Make a motion to approve the minutes and claims.
Mark made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Todd seconded. All those in favor? Sorry, I missed that part. Any further discussion? Roll call, Todd.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Pam.
Aye.
Sydney. Aye. Jim.
Aye.
Motion passes. County attorney emailed, said he will not be here today. Sheriff, do you have
Yeah,
nothing?
good morning, everyone.
Sheriff.
Wasn't here last week. I don't have a lot for you this morning. Fundraising for the K-9 is still coming in. We're about at 11,000 to 15. So that's good. Some of the donors have said to come back if we need more. But that's moving along nicely. Secondly, I replaced a second transmission in your model Tahoes that are failing. So that should be behind us now. Train wasn't a total failure yet, but I can't wait for that. So we got that taken care of. County mechanic, Matt Nicholson put that in for us, so that saved us a lot of money. And so it's really just paying for the transmission, the parts, essentially. And Matt took care of that, so he did a nice job on the last one. I'm assuming he did a nice job on this one too, so. Jail's been busy, been holding a lot of Worth County inmates, and so from our standpoint, financially, that's a good thing. We'll be billing those folks. Pretty good bill this time around, so that's always nice. Other than that, unless you have things for me, that's really all I have.
Is there update on Casey on his progress?
So Casey worked with us one day. Got a lot of things up and running for us, cleaned up, sorted through. We've got Casey talked to some vendors, got some bids for us on updates for some equipment in our interview room, which is, bids are pretty reasonable, really. And so we'll probably move forward on that when I see Casey again. There's a few more things in dispatch that he'll come back and troubleshoot for us. But yeah, it was good.
Okay.
Yeah, he's doing well.
Thank you.
And again, Ryan's always welcome to come and help. You know, I want him over there.
Yeah, I want that part of the process.
Yeah, me too. So, because Casey won't be with us forever. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Department head discussion.
Morning.
Morning.
Couple things for you guys. Last night we had our board meeting. I don't have a lot to report. But we did have an info lot application that was approved, so I will get that to you guys in one of your upcoming meetings. And then I also wanted to let you guys know that, as you guys recall, the Iowa Tourism Regional Representative was here a few months or weeks ago. And I got all those revisions that were needed made to her, so for the 2025 travel guide, so that information has been taken care of. And then one last thing, the Maple Heights project is getting close to wrapping things up. They were setting counters and they just had trim left, the trim left last week. And then she was gonna get the applications over there for the tenants, so those will be available soon in the building. Once they're totally finished, once she's totally finished, she'll let me know, and then evidently you guys have delegated some funds, maybe quite some years ago, or a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I'm not sure. And so she'll be looking for those funds. And then,
Question on that, are they gonna have an open house on it?
yes, and so that was like, the next thing is they don't have a date set, but I will let you know, I'll keep, in correspondence with her, and when there's a date set, I will let you guys know for that open house.
Right.
They're not ready yet. So. That is all I have, unless you guys have some questions for me.
So did we add anything to the Iowa tourism information? Were there any things that were added? or-
Nothing was added, just updates to the museums, and then the conservation parks had some updates.
So did the historical people, do you know, did they worked with you, right, to
Yeah.
add some things? Okay,
I talked to Dennis, and then he, let me know how he wanted things in there, and the address
that'll
and that
be-
sort of thing. And then he also gave me some information on the Cedar Valley Memories Museum that's already
Yeah.
out there. He wanted to make some adjustments to that, so I
Good.
passed that information that he wanted.
Is there information in there about the mountain goats and stuff that they do?
You know, I did pass that information along to Derek Mauser, but I'm not sure that he's interested. I let him know, that if he wanted to have a advertisement in there, but I have not heard back from him. Maybe I'll reach out again today and see if I can get a response from him.
At least they need to be contacted,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, he definitely was. And I know she's wrapping it up at the end of this month, so I know there's not a lot of time left, but I'll reach out to Derek and just make sure you saw the email.
Okay.
All right,
thank
anything
you.
else?
Thank I just had a note, does the board want to, the big printer that we've got in there is a paperweight, it's gone.
I had that down too, what are we gonna do with that?
Brian's gonna take care of as far as getting rid of the old one. I was wondering if we want to, I don't know if we need something that big or not, but do we want a more full-service printer for ourselves, or?
That was a hand-me-down, is there another department that needs a new one that we can
I don't
have a
know,
backup?
but, that's a good idea, I don't know.
I know Dave said we could use the old voting printers, but it doesn't do scanning or email or anything like that, it just prints.
Yeah, I'd like something that scans, I do less scanning for documents, so.
Yeah.
That one's pretty well shot, Ryan.
Say that, sorry, say that again?
That one's pretty well at it.
Correct, yeah, I looked into getting support for it and it was pretty expensive to be able to get it done. So yeah, like I said, it's a paperweight.
You know any other departments that have one?
Not off the top of my head, but I can definitely check around to see if there is one.
Ours is fairly old, though. I think we're still, I don't know if we're on lease or how that actually worked out, but.
Yeah, it's kind of all over the place with whether the copiers are leased or owned. So that'll be part of what I'll need to figure out too.
We might, I'm trying to think if we own it, but we still pay.
Still pay for
service
maintenance on it.
Because it includes the toners and we get charged per copy.
And it sounds like you're leasing it, but I don't know for sure. I'd have to look.
It'd be good to know somewhat soon, because we're in the budget process, and if we're gonna have some.
Right.
Do
It's-
something, we can budget for it that way.
Well, I'm gonna be around all the department heads anyway for another issue, so I'll just check with them at the same time.
Great.
And figure it out from there.
Thank you.
Can you look into just a ballpark figure on one that scans?
Such as like the one that you already have, similar to that, I mean, you're looking at thousands of dollars
Yeah.
for a device like that. Generally, leases for that run about 200 a month. So I've never actually purchased a copier, I've only ever leased them. It's kind of odd, actually, that those type of for this exact reason that they're not leased. So I would have to do a little more looking into what they cost anymore. I've never just bought one outright.
Look into it.
Okay.
But I will check with all the departments to see if there's one.
I guess the only comments I have in regards to, again, I do a lot of scanning, so I would like that double-sided duplexing scanning, but we don't need something that massive, I get it, but it's also nice to be able to print copies somewhat speedy, because there's times where people in here need a copy, and if we have a copier that's just printing very slowly, so there's.
And that'll allow larger paper as well, that's another consideration, if you ever do 7x9, or I can't think of off the top of my head, but that's another advantage of the copier is different sizes of paper.
Is ours too big for you?
I don't even remember yours off the
Ours is
top of my head.
I
One of
guess-
my 17's about as
Yeah.
high as you can get it.
Right.
I didn't know if it was too big.
The size, I guess, isn't the problem, it's the cost of the size, that's the deal. Anyway,
I had one thing. Rachel sent an email with updated budget and said we should schedule another meeting. Do you want to do that today or whatever works for you guys? Okay. You guys have any Tuesday?
Next week we have a safety meeting after.
Yep.
So we can't
And
do
the
it.
following week after that, we possibly might have, assessors meeting, so it'd have to be another day. And do Wednesdays? Any Wednesday available in the next upcoming weeks? We need to get it.
The fifth won't work for me on a Wednesday.
You looking at in the morning on a Wednesday?
What's better for you, Rachel, morning or afternoon?
Probably morning.
Morning.
If it was the fifth, I'd have to be out of here by 10. I mean, I'd have to be able to cook them if it's gonna be the fifth.
12th?
12th?
Yeah, that works for me.
5?
Yeah.
Do you want to do 9 o'clock? Give Rachel enough time. Okay. Let's do budget meeting, February 12th. 9 o'clock. Thank you. Any other budget or department heads? All right, we'll move on to county engineer update.
Morning.
Morning.
Thanks. We're working with the auditors on our GASB report. I think we've had a little bit of trouble trying to make the old auditor stuff meld with the stuff that we use through the service bureau. So I'm working with those issues, trying to get some other information out by the end of the week for the grant for our 2 bridges. We need some of this preliminary environmental stuff done so they can push that off. We're still trying to close out our federal aid STP paving project with the contractor. Kind of not getting a lot of information back that we need. We've got 1 or 2 items we need. It just seems to take forever. So we've been working with the DOT and the contractor to try to get that stuff out. I think our new mower and tractor should be in maybe mid-February. We should be getting that delivered from what I understand. We had that windstorm that came through and took our salt shed down, or the canopy down. The other one was damaged with some wind. Had the same contractor finally came back to look at that. Sounds like they're gonna recommend a new roof on that one because it's tore where one of the hoops are, and it just seems to, the wind gets on, the way it's put together, it flaps too much and wears out, so we've got a better solution. And it might take a new cover that's gonna cost around $10,000, but, well, yeah, so, because I don't think if you try to patch it, the same issue, it's gonna wear through the cover again, so they've got another idea on how to fix that. We'll work with the insurance company to find out. They were gonna take care of that from the windstorm anyway, so.
How old are those? That,
The
like the
new,
salt
that
shed?
salt, the one I'm speaking of, that one's probably 6 years old.
Yeah, something like that.
Didn't seem like it was
Yeah,
that
that one-
terribly old.
Yeah,
but
the other one was
wind.
super old. But, so we're working on that. I had a request, well, it wasn't really a request, it was more of an informational question on transmission lines in the public right of way. So, kind of doing a little research on that. There's a company that wants to run transmission lines down from Minnesota down to, right around north of 430th Street, actually 440th Street in Quail, I believe. There's possible substation work that might be coming, but I'm trying to figure out whether or not most of the transmission lines that come through the county are these big poles that are they're still working on trying to get private right of way, so, but they wanted to know if there was an option to put it in the public right of way, and I'm really not sure if we've ever done that before. I think Worth County might have done something like that in the past, but I just need to know what kind of structures they're looking at putting up before we can really talk about granting them any permission to do that, so.
These are those really big ones. I mean.
Well, it didn't sound, when I asked them about what they were planning on putting versus what we have. They said it wouldn't be as big as the ones, those 2 pedestals with the concrete. I don't, they didn't make it sound like they were gonna be that big, but I don't know. They didn't give me any design criteria to know, but. So, well, when I get that information, we can talk about it. It's a ways out yet, before that ever happens, so, but it was just kind of a preliminary thing. And then, still working on our paving project plans for this summer, and I am working on a presentation to give next week at the Iowa Concrete Paving Association. Kind of got guilted into, voluntold, guilted into doing a presentation, so they needed some people to step up, so I'm working on that too. Other than that, I think we're cutting brush and been kind of a nice dry winter. Nice and dry for us is good, nice and dry for everybody else isn't, so. That's all I've got for you this morning.
Any other questions?
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 7, discussion and possible action on upgrading phone system.
Right, so we have the quote from the first person we talked to. On Thursday, we're going to have a demonstration by 3CX. I have Laura and Rachel now able to attend that. I think it's important that we get at least 2 quotes. One of them will be for a cloud-based system, and the other will be for an on-premise system. There's advantages and disadvantages to both way of doing it. Currently, the phone systems here and at Public Health aren't really manageable. I don't have a method of necessarily fixing something that's broke anymore on them. So if something were to happen, I think we talked about this, if something were to happen, it's not necessarily something that can get fixed quickly. So obviously it's important for this new phone system to move as fast as it possibly can. Once we get this quote out of the way, a decision can be made. After that decision, we can come to the board, get approval. From there, it comes to implementation. Employee training is a big part of that on the new phone systems. So I would hope then, once we get the equipment in, which again can take some time to order that in, after that it would be able to be implemented relatively quickly. But what we're waiting on right now is to see that second quote and then make the decision based on, do we want to go to the cloud or do we want to stay on premise? And again, there's pros and cons to each of those.
So the presentation by 3CX,
Yes.
I got the impression from the presentation last week that they would be assisting with training and support, especially as we kicked off the new system. Can you find out then when you meet with them, if that is something that they're going to offer as well?
Absolutely, yeah, that'll be one of the main
comparing
questions,
apples
because
to
that,
apples.
yeah, we'll definitely want them to be involved in the training instead of just me kind of trying to limp through it. We want the experts there to help us out the best that we can.
So you'll have a quote by next Tuesday?
Correct.
So we can put that,
I bet they'll give it to me on Friday, but let's say next Tuesday.
get this on the agenda for next Tuesday?
Yes, please do.
So then we should be able to.
Yeah, and that'll give me some time to, like I said, I'm gonna be going around to the department heads anyway here. So that'll give me some time to talk to them to see if they have any concerns. I don't think there will be, but since everybody has to use the system, I think it's good to have everybody's
That's a good idea.
opinion.
Okay.
Any more questions? Okay,
Well, next Tuesday.
good, sounds good. Talk then. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, number 8, discussion and possible action on funding seminary senior meal program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, welcome.
So I'm not sure what you would like, but I just printed off some things. That way, if you have to reference back to it, you can. I did go to the city and spoke with them about our senior meal program. And so right now it is, we get a subsidy from Elderbridge. And the Cedar Valley Seminary Foundation, it's just all one entity. So this is our program. We just kind of can go off of, and when I talked to the city, they had talked about how well, maybe it's a county issue because we've had to, where St. Ansgar, they have their senior meal program. And they, our contract with Elderbridge, they can only give so much money for federal funding. And it caps out here for us in March. They suggested then to St. Ansgar, because they can't keep going on the funding they get either. So it's just, you know, when funding runs out, what are you gonna do? So they've gone to only serving meals 3 days a week. And pretty soon, when I talked to Jody with Elderbridge, she said she can see where that's going to, one of these days, be a problem. And they can't give us money for people coming out of town because, you know, that's their county or something like that. So they have to sign up with our program. And right now, people who don't live in Mitchell County that are signed up with the Osage Senior Meal Program, that's about 60 people right there. We have 13 volunteers. We deliver in 5 days a week. We just deliver in the city limits. Those people who need a meal have to either come pick it up, make arrangements to have it picked up, or find somebody who can, in the community, who will drop it off to them. Right now, we're up to about 65 of those, and it's growing. So, and it's really growing. So in 2023, at the end of the year, we served 5,346 meals, and projected by June of 25, it'll be 18,761. And we've already surpassed 1,200 over.
Yeah, there's 500, or 11,500 for last year for total.
Yeah, for just the end of December, not going all the way to June, because we go June to June because that's when our contract's up with Elderbridge. So, and when it goes to, and we do serve a little bit more days than others. And there are some things, you know, that I think on here, it had said that our budget deficit was 53,000, but that's decreased a little bit. It's about 50,000 now. We've had other individuals and grants that we have gotten, and there's more I've been looking into. And, and when I asked for the money with the city, I wasn't asking for any, like our site manager, our premises, our insurances. I'm just asking for cost of goods. So in this instance, they've skyrocketed. It's like groceries are so much higher, but nobody's wages so much higher, you know? So I just think it's a growing need in our community, actually.
Okay, so I have some questions.
Sure.
So Jody I called her yesterday. So Jody, can you hear us? Are you online? I know you
I
are.
can hear you. Yep, I'm here.
All right. So there's a contract between Elderbridge and the seminary.
Yeah.
And Elderbridge is the contractor and the
Yes.
seminary is the subcontractor.
Correct.
So my first question is that we're into month 7, and I guess I'm wondering why all of a sudden now we know that there's a financial problem in regards to maybe we should have known this a while back. And Jody, have you contacted Elderbridge in regards to the problem? And since Elderbridge is the contractor, I'm asking you this now, Jody, are there remedies that you're proposing in order to try to solve this? Or
Yes.
because you are the contractor as far as on this contract.
Yep. So some things I was thinking of, and I need to talk to Nicole about these, is that we probably really need to look at who's coming in and doing grab and goes and trying to do more of a congregate meal there. Because that's really our premise, is to get people to congregate. And if you've got a lot of people that are just grabbing and going, that's really not what Elderbridge is trying to build with congregate meals. We can also look at maybe decreasing your serving days for congregate to just Tuesday, Thursday, and then cut back on 3 days a week there that you're actually serving to make that funding that Elderbridge is able to give you last, a little bit longer. We also really delve into those home delivered meals. So people have to qualify for that. They have to be homebound. And so we require that the meal sites help us, to make sure that people are meeting the criteria that Elderbridge has set to get home delivered meals. But we also reach out twice a year to people to look at that over and say, hey, are you still, requiring home delivered meals? And there's some people that just need them for a short period of time. Maybe they had some surgery or, it is winter. So we kind of look at that too. Does somebody just need them through the winter? And then we start looking at April and saying, okay, the weather's, hopefully getting nicer. We don't have to worry so much about snow, things like that. You need to start congregating. I think really what has happened over there with the Cedar Valley Seminary is that people are seeing that it's a different way to dine than just the senior center. So they, see that as a positive, which it is a positive. But from our aspect for Elderbridge, we are given so much money from state fed, and we too come and ask for grants and things like that, and money from our counties to help support all of our programs. But we only have so much money that we can spread. And so I know Nicole mentioned, St. Ansgar. St. Ansgar at the beginning of our fiscal year when we were looking at doing budgets was having some issues with staffing. So to try and make our money spread for both of those senior center, for both of those facilities in that county, we cut St. Ansgar, our funding that we were able to give St. Ansgar, to 3 days a week. That doesn't mean that St. Ansgar can't serve on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Elderbridge just can't help support the meals on that day. And so I think that's what Nicole was referring to, that St. Ansgar then reached out to them to see if they could do meals. And they could certainly provide meals to St. Ansgar on Tuesday and Thursday when St. Ansgar is not serving. But they would just have to work out what that cost would be, that St. Ansgar would provide them reimbursement directly. So that would be between the two of them. Nicole, did I hear you say that you have like 60 people that don't live in Mitchell County that are coming to your meal site?
Correct.
Okay. So, and we can reach out to those people and find out where they are coming from, to really say, there's might be somewhere closer to you, that kind of thing.
Sure. So I do know the majority of them come, but they're coming from a town that does not have a senior meal program. And when it comes to St. Ansgar, we do have people from St. Ansgar that dine in. And I understand where you're coming from, Jody. If we're just going to depend on your funding, then we could change some things. But in all regards, this is our program. And the employees that we do for the senior meal program, we have two of those we have a site manager, assistant site manager. We have a full-time cook who, by the way, is me. I'm also the director, and I don't know how that works. I don't get paid for both. But the Cedar Valley Seminary pays for all of our wages. We don't take any of this money out for wages. And we want to grow our community, our senior citizens community by serving them a meal every day, having the ability to open our doors. We had 30 diners in last Friday. So, I mean, it's a great thing. I don't want to just say, oh, you know what? I'm so glad you're coming, but tomorrow, maybe we can, or if you come tomorrow,
right,
I'm going to request that you pay $12 a meal. I mean.
No, and I get it, Nicole. And I think that's, part of why things have grown so much over there is because it's a different atmosphere. Sadly, there's a stigma around senior centers, and that's why, we are excited to branch out and to do something different with this, the seminary. It's hard because we are lobbying with our legislators and above and, trying to get more money for seniors. That's
Sure.
really what it boils down to, is that, yes, grocery prices have skyrocketed, and, the funding hasn't, come in, and COVID did us no favors because we got the COVID money and it was build programs, build programs, build programs. So we did, and we spent that money, and now that money isn't still coming in.
Yes.
So, and all those people are still there and still needing services.
I know, we're not the only
No.
county or only program struggling. I just, I'm just sitting here, asking for somebody to help ours,
So you made the comment that you understand Jody's comments, but
I do.
it's your program. Now, we fund just under $10,000 to Elder Bridge for a program such as this, so.
So I'm gonna say.
Excuse me.
Yep.
So we already fund a large sum of money to do this. Now, if you want this to be your program, then the first red flag that I have is that you have a number of people from out of county that are coming here to eat. And I'm not personally, now maybe these people will be, but I'm personally not in favor of providing Mitchell County money for people that are out of county to come here and eat. I'm not gonna
So-
do that.
The 56
And
people that are,
If you want to have your own program, it might be something that you're gonna have to look at as far as to be more efficient or to find funding so that you can run your own program.
sure,
We are helping to fund Elder Bridge for your program already.
okay.
Okay, I'm
Yep.
done.
And so like the 56 people that live out of town, that's just the 56 people that are signed up. They don't eat on a daily basis. They don't come here to Osage. They probably eat, what do you count, 12 times?
Yeah.
So
Stacyville,
12
Grafton,
times.
Riceville.
Stacyville.
Well, Stacyville is in the county.
Right, that's what I mean. I mean, when she said out of county, I mean, it's still Rudd, St.
Right.
Anthony,
Oh, yeah.
Riceville,
I mean,
Stacyville,
it's just out of
Grafton.
our, it's just out of our Osage city
Okay,
limits,
so
so,
out of county,
yeah.
so-
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that maybe Stacyville isn't as involved in this is that our Meals on Wheels program, so to speak, is run through our nursing home.
right.
So our nursing home, makes the meals and then has the volunteers that come and get it, and we pay for that service,
Sure, and we've helped out Stacyville
Yeah.
where they didn't have the employees over the holidays, so we helped
Yeah.
prepare meals for them.
So what,
And we never did turn those into our numbers for Elder Bridge.
okay. So can I ask, what are you currently charging per meal then?
Sure. So when the senior meal program, because we work with North Iowa Food Bank,
Yeah.
and with Elder Bridge, we can't ask for an amount. So we ask a donation that's accepted, but not required for service. So if that person does not have money, I'm not gonna turn them down. And, so we have people that come in, they ask, well, what do most people pay? And we say, well, we send out a meal that's worth about $12. So they can pay, what did you say?
I usually use the gamut, $5 to $7, because you're getting a $9 meal at least. Our
Yeah.
big meals are
$12,
$12.
but scale it back
We
for
scale
seniors.
it down a little bit for our seniors and still plenty of food.
Sure.
And so we say anywhere from $5 to $7, what we recommend. And of course, we have those that pay $7 a meal, and there's people that pay $8
Or even more.
or even more.
So the donation part of it, you think is working sufficiently? And I'm not, like, I agree with Jim in some respects, that it's not our job to manage that. I'm
No,
just
and,
trying to kind of
yeah,
do some problem solving.
sure. And and it is a problem, feeding the seniors. If you've ever, I've delivered meals to where it's the only food they see and we're the only people they see. It's a,
Yes.
Welfare check.
yep, it's a welfare check and they look forward to it. We have emergency contact on there so that we can call that person.
Yeah.
And Brian and Great Beaver, we gotta call them, often
Sure.
to go check on
Yep.
them. So, but sometimes it is the only food they get. So we could serve less food, but we just want to make sure they have enough that if they if they need that little bit of food for supper time, it's there for them. So.
Doesn't say any turnable containers that they send back for the next meals?
They do. And we found out with that they weren't getting them back. They were hard for them to wash the next day. And then it was just creating more staff to stay longer to get them clean. So we,
During COVID, we got rid of them because of
Sure.
the contamination issue.
Sure.
Plus for our delivery drivers, to pick up just another bag, then you carry contamination back with you.
Right.
We felt really lucky that they all stuck with us. We made them wear masks. We asked our clients to set a table so there was no human contact. We did a lot. We never missed one meal during COVID, not one meal, where other centers completely
Yes,
shut
yes, I
down.
know that
and they
some
did
did,
not.
Statesville did.
And we were very proud of that. We had people in the community that actually asked us not to go back to those hard case containers and use a disposable or recyclable container. And they sent us a check for $100 to help pay for, disposable ones or whatever. It just, the contamination level is the problem with those.
And so we do serve the public too, and that meal's normally $12. And I hope by doing that, then we get more support for, support for our senior meal program too, so. And we've only been doing it for a year with seminary, so it's just really grown. And yeah, I guess we could do some things where we could turn people away, but I don't know, that's a good mission.
I guess I look at, it's a good, very good thing, but when I look at these numbers for a year that went from 5,300 to 18,000, I'm using this lightly, that's insane that we're not getting that many more elderly people in Mitchell County in that time frame.
And actually, I think it's just awareness, getting the word out, that you don't have to be poor to come have a senior meal program. You don't have to. You don't have to make this much money to come eat. You can, I don't know, any of you over 60? Come eat. It's open for everybody. So I think that's why I really push the stigma it used to have, where you had to be in need and lonely to come hang out with a bunch of people.
So how long does the meal time, so to speak, usually last? I mean,
Till 2.
it's just,
Some of them sit and hang out, and
Okay.
then we have cards on Wednesdays. We do a blood pressure check. We do programs with the Mitchell County Extension Office and with the Mitchell County Conservation.
And we have chair fit on
We have chair fit on Thursdays at the seminary pays for our seniors, and we also work with North Iowa 43, so we have, I believe, 5 adults that are special needs. So I have them all do chair fit on Thursdays and with some of the seniors that come. So we have programs too. I guess we're just trying to.
I don't want to downplay what you're doing because I think you're doing providing an excellent service. That's not my point. The only thing is the 5 of us up here are the money people, so to speak.
Sure.
And so when there's ever taxpayers' money that needs to be spent, it has to be spent efficiently.
Sure.
And so when I see a program that I have questions, and that's the first thing that's on my mind. If you're having a problem, what can you do to be more efficient? What can you do to correct your situation so that you start running in the blacks compared to being in the red? And Jody, I know you wanted to say something also, but I want you to continue, but if Elderbridge is the contractor, it sounded like they had some ideas in regards to trying to be more efficient. I think that's the direction that needs to happen as far as they're the ones that are supervising the program. Unless you want to run your own program like what you're talking about, but then you're talking a completely different aspect as far as funding because you want to do an extension as compared to what their contract is.
Mhm.
That was a mouthful, but efficiency, that's my main point.
Sure. And with Elderbridge, that when we picked this up in November 2023, we were getting $421 and now it's $395. It's even less money than what we initially were getting from them. So,
before that was 5 something.
yes. So we seen a downward.
Down.
so your
It's just-
subsidizing level has decreased.
Very
I
much.
did the books at the senior center for years, and I have years have passed, and, until we grew so much, the funding just kept shrinking and shrinking and shrinking from Elderbridge.
And And we are new, and it is really taken off, and awareness is really spread. So I'm going to, apply for more grants, talk to more people. I'm gonna go to the school and talk to them. So I have different avenues, in the meantime, yeah. I'm sure there's things that we can change, but we're all learning, and
We
everyone's
want you
moving
guys
really
just to
fast.
be aware of it all too, that
Yes.
what's happening.
And the funding keeps shrinking because of counties and cities are getting pinched for dollars because of things that the state is doing to counties and cities.
Correct.
So it's not, it keeps going up the ladder as far as where the funding comes from.
Our county was, we grew a year ago and we got less funding. For doing better, we got slapped in the
That's sad.
And I know, like the Cedar Valley Seminary Foundation, our mission is to grow and serve the community, and I don't want to go backwards, per se, so.
Jody, what were you gonna say, 5 minutes ago?
Yeah. So I wanted to just like give you there on the supervisors, just kind of a little, when the question was asked, how much do you charge per meal? Because we're using Older Americans Act money, we cannot charge. So anyone who fills out Elder Bridges paperwork, which, Cedar Valley Seminary is very good about making sure that everyone is filling out that paperwork. Anyone who fills out that paperwork is eligible to eat with a confidential voluntary donation. So we can make the recommendation that, we recommend that you make a $7 donation if you can. But if you can't, we can't turn you away. The flip side to that is that helps get the people who can't afford the meal, gets them the meal. But we also can't means test. So we can't say, as long as you fill out that paperwork, it doesn't matter what you make for income. That you fill out the paperwork, then you can, get that meal, you can eat with a voluntary donation as long as you are over the age of 60. Now, if there's someone under 60, Cedar Valley Seminary has the right to say, nope, you have to pay $10 a meal. And then in that case, they just don't turn that person's name into us for reimbursement. So we aren't getting reimbursed for those people that are under 60 or who are paying full price. Just the people that are turning in the paperwork. So that makes it a little bit more difficult when you know that there's people out there who need the food, but they can't afford to pay. And you know that there's people out there who could afford to pay, but they've heard about this program and maybe they're not willing to pay. They just see it as an easy way to get a cheap lunch. So, and we can't distinguish between the two, and the meal sites aren't supposed to keep track of who's donating what. They just
Absolutely.
collect the donations, and they're not supposed to know that, George came in and he's eaten the last 5 days and he's paid $25. And so then they know he only gets $5 per meal. They're not supposed to keep track of it that way. They're just supposed to take the donations, and we collected $152 today. And that's how they do that. So one of the things that everyone can help us do is to go to your legislators and really push for funding to the Older Americans Act, because then that money trickles down. But without that funding, Elderbridge has 29 counties. We have 60 meal sites. And like I said, our numbers have increased. So we made changes to Mitchell County to make sure that we kept open both of our meal sites in that county. We had to look at other counties that have, multiple meal sites and do some of those same things. So it wasn't just St. Ansgar that got cut. It's other counties too. We had to look at creative ways. We are required by the Older Americans Act to serve 5 days a week. So that's where we had to get creative with some other places too, just because of the funding. So, and we do look at, our funding is on a we use a formula so that it is consistent. It's as fair as we can get it across the board too. So we don't just say, oh, well, St. Ansgar or, Cedar Valley are doing really well this year, so we'll give them more money, or they're not doing as well or whatever, and we'll take some funding away. So it's pretty consistent how we do it. And we'll continue to do what we can. That's really all. So I think that's really what I had to say. I don't know, Nicole will get together. Julie, we can get together. We can kind of brainstorm some things that, we can do together to keep the program going.
I would appreciate that. It sounds like the guidelines of your program enable people that can afford meal to be able to cheat, and it actually ruins the program for people that actually need the program.
It can.
It would be nice if you could get your guidelines to be improved.
Yep. And that's where, the Older Americans Act, where it was written, I don't know. They're looking at making some changes, but I'm not sure that some of them were as positive as they could be, because they actually opened up home delivered meals to anyone who wanted one. So that just makes that can of worms even worse. Elderbridge decided to keep it that somebody needed to be homebound, because we can't just afford, to let anybody who wants to just sit and eat lunch in front of the Price is Right be able to do that. And that's where COVID really hurt. And that's why we're still trying to dig out of that, because everybody, got home delivered meals because we shut down a lot of our senior centers. But yeah, because we can't means test in the meal program, we anyone who fills out our paperwork can eat with a voluntary donation.
Okay, so you'll be working with the seminary at this point at least to try to figure something out to start with.
Yep, we'll do what we can.
Thank you for the additional information and training. And I too echo that what a wonderful program. It's tough to be on the short end of increased usage and decreased, funding from the governmental side. And it's painful.
It is. And I don't mean to, have this, because I know that Nicole goes through this every day too on, how do you pay for this? How do you pay for that? But, starting in March when we get our money, find out how much money we're going to spend. I'd spend the next 3 months, literally basically sleepless on trying to figure out how to spread, it around to everybody, for the best that we can do. So, Elderbridge appreciates, supervisors help, and with all of our programs, because that money that we came and asked you for covers everything that Elderbridge does, and not just the meals. And we do appreciate all of that, and we appreciate our meal sites, because without them, we couldn't reach all of the people that we are reaching.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I will just say one thing. She had said anyone could eat that signed up. That was under 60. We don't sign anybody up. You haven't paid $12 a meal. So that's not something that we do. We do sign up our volunteers, but fortunately, they're all older than 60. So.
Except the 2 girls from home health now.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2
So
that
they
are
get a meal.
younger.
But, that's just getting them in the door to deliver some meals. So, yeah, if you have any questions or anything, if you think of, let me know. But yeah, she's right. It's a continuing problem, and it takes up a lot of my time along with my other jobs. So I'm pretty passionate about it. So you probably hear from me again.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Start with what we've done here so
Yeah.
far.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in.
Yep. Sounds good.
Thanks for
Thank
listening.
you.
Move on to number 9, discussion and possible action on Gardner and Co. completing GAAP report. Rory?
So I added that to the agenda. So we had to, in auditor's office, complete a GAAP report and a cash report, both due December 1st. Not to blame them, but our software company, during some changes, updates that they've done, it's populating numbers in the wrong spots on reports, and there is zero help. Frustrating, as we've kind of talked about. So I was just talking with Elizabeth with Gardner, and they do 11 county audits, and of the eight out of the 11 audits they do the gap report for all of them every year. The 3 that don't are us, Howard County, which has Julie Chapman, who's been there since 1990 and been through all of the changes. So she does hers, and then Sarah Gordo, which they have their own CPA in the office that completes it for them. So Elizabeth has kind of talked before, they charge what they put into it, which comes out to be roughly like $5,000. And that's something that they can do. They can do that for us this year to get it done, and then if we wanted to do it in the future as well. So my opinion would be to go with them, just because then you know it's done right the first time, and with as many things that they've found / corrected so far in the audit, I think it would be a good decision.
So the only option is basically you do it or they do it.
Or they do, right.
That's kind of where we're.
And then like for me, I mean, I can, in Solutions, it does it kind of in the background, I guess I'll say. So we input our numbers for all of our report, or, you know, like throughout the year with all of our accounting. And then it's supposed to automatically populate in there. Well, it's not doing it correctly because of programming issues. And I mean, you can talk to them and they're nice enough, but they don't know what's going on. So it's just, you're just sitting there. So, and I don't want to say luckily for the gap report, there is no monetary punishment, but I'm not one. I mean, it was due December 1st and we're almost to February now. Like, I hate that, but so it's a discussion.
If we chose to have them do it next year, then would it just be included in on their rate, or would it be a separate?
So it's additional to their audit services. And we've talked about, I mean, this year it's been kind of a lot for them to, as far as getting all the documents, because they're starting from blank and they want to fully know how our county works. So it's taken them some time. They have, I think, a couple here yet. Elizabeth should be in this afternoon, and then they have Chris up there right now. But they had 2 more that were here all of the last 2 weeks. They got a lot done. And in the future, it should hopefully go smoother. Next year, there might be a little bit still to clean up, but it's going good. And they, I mean, for the gap report, they have to do a lot of the information anyways for part of the audit. So it's just a little bit on top of what they're already doing.
So if we hire them for this year, you could do it next year?
As long as Solutions is working properly.
And we've been talking about Solutions since they were taken over, bought out or whatever, what, 2 years and maybe even a little longer. And they haven't improved a bit as far as I'm concerned.
You go down to the ISAC thing, everybody down there complained about them, but
Oh, yeah, everyone brought it up. Right.
there's no choice.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, though, they kept echoing that, you know, they had a team now that was working with Solutions to straighten things out and get things cleaned up and improve their reporting, you know. As Elizabeth stated to me the day I visited with her, that, you know, Solutions, at least you can balance in the treasurer's office at the end of the day, which is a real problem with the other program that most of the states were using. But yeah, when they transitioned, that was the information I was gathering too, was that most counties jumped ship just because all of those individuals that were working at Solutions when they got bought out left the company. And
Doesn't sound like the other company's doing any better.
right, and that there was some real challenges there.
They did say that Joe Roney, ISAC might get their own team together.
Right. He echoed that again in a meeting on Friday that I had with Joe Roney and Ryan, that is coming on very strongly, so.
And to go off, so we had a cash balancing issue from that 2-tier, and we waited kind of a while on them for getting that fixed. Have found during this time of the year, it was also off in 2 other funds, and I wasn't here yesterday to get an update on it, but like the assessor and the Brook funds were affected by that too. So Amy needed that fixed in order to do her budget, because then her numbers are all off too, so.
Is it getting fixed?
They were working on it. I don't know where they're at, because like I said, I didn't have an update yesterday, but
Do they have to go back like they did with this other one? Same thing? Okay.
I would imagine they'd have to go back till they found where it reconciled.
Yeah.
Is that
yes,
right?
so. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Something.
I personally would like to get just for one voter, get this cleaned out. These gardeners here, and they're working on it now, and they're gonna be working on this gap anyway, correct? They have their hands.
They have to
on it,
review it, but there's nothing for them to review right now, because it's not done.
you know.
Is that a motion, Pat?
So I would make that motion to hire them to get this completed.
I'll second that.
Tom made a motion, Mark second. Any further discussion?
Where would the money come from?
We have money in the consultant services line for paperwork.
Okay.
So my question is this motion just to pay this year's
Yeah.
and then review again the
Yes.
process moving forward?
I have a feeling I know it for the next years, but the solution doesn't,
1 year at a time.
yeah.
Right.
So,
And we might see what ISACs comes up with.
correct.
Roll call, Jim,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
Pam,
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Todd.
All right.
Motion passes. All right, next up, we have appoint recorders deputy.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are you? Good, how are you? Good. I currently have Monica Sigler as a clerk. She is full-time. She's been full-time since she was hired. When Dawn retired, I bumped her from 30 hours to 40, and I would like to make her deputy recorder starting on February 16th, which is her 2-year anniversary. And she'll be at 65% of my wage, which makes that $48,307, which is a raise from what she's currently getting. So I guess a promotion.
All right. Is there a motion to appoint Monica Sigler as recorder's deputy?
So moved.
Jim made a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Mark second? Any further discussion?
And naturally, you feel she's capable of the duties in the office.
Yep.
And
I purposely hired her when Dawn was still here so that Dawn could help me train her. And that's why I wanted her full-time, because I knew Dawn was leaving and I wanted Monica to learn as much as possible. So she's honestly still learning new things, but so am I, even after being here for about 8 years.
Is she capable of if, when Dawn is gone, and if you're gone for a week, can she run the office? Or will
Yep.
that still be something that she has to learn?
No, I mean, I've been training her on pretty much everything. I'm the only one that does the monthly budgeting though. So like I'm the one that writes the checks that I give to Shannon every month. But if I'm gone for a week, I'm fully confident that
Okay.
Monica could handle it.
Who seconded that? I'm sorry.
Mark did.
Mark,
All right, roll call, Mark.
Aye.
Pam,
aye.
Cindy.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Todd.
Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Number 11, approve agreements to give contribution to Substance Abuse Coalition. I guess Betty called to put this on.
Yes, and they,
We made a resolution.
yep, so there's a resolution for the agreement to make Mr. Roxanne happy. So they're requesting 3,000, that was approved for the 24-25 Prime for Life classes for the second semester for Osage, Sanford, and Riceville. It will be this month in February, and then She noted Laura Huseman is the new treasurer and that the check can be made out to the Substance Abuse Coalition and sent to Laura then.
Okay, so we have resolution number 1258-25. Sorry, I'm writing it down. Do we have a motion to approve agreements to give $3,000? The substance abuse.
Move to approve resolution 1258-25.
Jim made a motion, is there a second?
I second it.
And second. Any further discussion?
Does that come out of the opioid money?
Yes.
Yes. My understanding from when Betty was here last week and conversations with Laura as well.
Roll call, Todd,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Pam.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, move on. Meetings attended.
I was also at city council meeting last night, the big topic, I didn't stay for the whole meeting, I did leave early, but the big topic was the street improvements that are being done in the town of Osage. This is one of the larger projects that's been done, and it will actually complete the majority of the roads in the town that need to be done. Concept is, some areas 34 foot wide, other areas are 27 foot wide, it'll all be 6-inch concrete. Bid letting is February 18th, proposed May, October construction. Being paid by local option sales tax, assessments to the landowners, and bonding. I think I'll leave it at that. That's all I have.
I have none.
I had a meeting on Friday down at Eldora for the Central Iowa Juvenile Detention Center. There was 10 or 12 of us that were new to that board. So we went to a training session or informational session about an hour before the meeting actually started. They started with 6 counties back in '94, and they are now up to covering 35 member counties throughout the state. And I believe they are up to 60 beds, and they started an advanced behavioral unit. You know, the challenge when they first started the facility was crimes, juveniles with crime history, and over the last year or so, more has become crime and a mental facility. So they have opened up, you know, an additional advanced behavioral unit to assist that. They spoke about the retirement programs that they have for the staff, and then we broke into session. They are doing an extreme amount of reviewing of their policies and procedures, which was something that we talked about down at the ISAC's state meeting, in that has become kind of a keynote for most of these boards, making sure that you have your policies and procedures well documented. We are requesting information, and I did send off to Rachel that we're requesting research of our records here in Mitchell County for our 28E agreement, or any resolution or anywhere where the board voted on agreement for us for Mitchell County to join the Central Iowa Juvenile Detention Center. So they're doing some, you know, dramatic review and follow up, and making sure that they have all their I's dotted and their T's crossed. So I was in that meeting, then left there, came back and sat down in a meeting with Joel Roney, the IT individual from the ISACS team, and Ryan, and we went through line by line the review from last August and talked about, what the goals were, where are we now, and what kinds of things that we can do moving forward. And also visited some about the cooperative efforts between Casey and Ryan on working on the sheriff's office and, goals that he has moving forward. And they visited, I learned a whole lot from Joel in that meeting, when they were discussing the nature of some of our equipment and the importance of getting that updated. We're working on the phone system situation now, but assuring that our systems are accurately supporting and working for not only us, but the people of our county whose records we have and hold. So that is all I have so far. More meetings to come.
I had a Heartland Insurance meeting. They had to go to closed session for 3 cases that we're trying to settle. And they kept, our 4-year, we're supposed to have 4 safety meetings a year, and she kept, so we get our premium deduction, she kept reiterating on, make sure we have our 4 meetings. And that's pretty much there. County Social Service meeting, a lot of questions there about the inmates. The flow state, that's when they talk to the counselors, the sheriffs, what they're gonna do with the inmates with this new program coming up that we're gonna Marshalltown's supposed to be our hub for social service and transport for the inmates. Questions on the medication for the inmates, the sheriff's responsible for that, so his budget's gonna be affected a lot. And there's no answers, and it's coming July 1st, so the state can maybe overstep their boundaries on this, along with.
You mentioned transportation services. I learned that one of the ways that the Central Iowa Juvenile Detention Center is helping to fund their programs is that they have taken on a transportation service where they have about 80 employees and they do just that. They transport people across the state and across into other states for those kinds of things. So when you mentioned that, I had been remiss in.
Yeah, they have 3 of them that
Yeah.
County Social Service uses, but they don't know if the state's gonna reimburse them or not, so they're not gonna do it for nothing.
And that's got to be a much larger challenge for a lot of these programs, the detention programs in the counties as well. I mentioned that.
So it's a lot of unanswered questions.
I had a MCEDC meeting and Jenny spoke on that pretty much. And then I had also FMC ECI meeting yesterday evening. And I got there and I was the lone person. I went back to my email and I was a month early. No January meeting.
You were late.
There was a lot of changes, people retiring, and it's been on I am now the chair. I just couldn't get this meeting off my mind, and here I was a month. So, sorry, Jenny. But that's it.
Manure management.
One for Schroeder Hog Farm LLC, 3361 340th Street, Elma.
All right, thank you. Public comments.
So I'm not sure if this is where I would present this, but I received a letter from Lisa Ritzert, and I will just read it off. I believe Rachel also received it, maybe all the rest of you did as well. If everybody's shaking their head, they did. So I think it's worth noting that Worth County passed a half-a-mile setback ordinance this last Monday. Summit filed with Worth County around 6 months after Mitchell County. If any ordinances are to be in place for future economic development, right-of-way, land use, setbacks, fee structures, etc., They must be signed into effect before a hearing is completed, and ideally before a hearing takes place as soon as possible. And it speaks about, Summit has requested some scheduling conferences with the IUC to set up dates for procedures such as hearing. And the question is Mitchell County planning on putting any ordinances for setbacks against the CO2 pipeline? I did fail to mention that I have an upcoming meeting with the Summit people, and I had a visitor in the office last week or a couple weeks ago regarding the CO2 pipeline and the need for us to put in place some preventative measures to protect our citizens. So I guess I would like to put that on our agenda for next week, if that's possible, for us to at least review and discuss the possibility of an ordinance.
All right.
Any
Any other public comment?
Got that down, Rachel?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
No further comments. I'll adjourn the meeting at 9:41.